Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School.
Good morning.
If you have your Bibles, turn with me to the book of John. I'd like to look at some scriptures here in the first chapter of the book of John. While you're finding your place, I guess I should ask, do you have a good Christmas? Yeah, we are blessed. We are. We're definitely blessed. Ron hit it right when he said we're blessed. We can celebrate Christmas and in freedom, have a good time doing it, recognizing what we're celebrating, and then just sharing that. There's a blessing all in that. It's a special time of year. I mean, it feels like it is a special time of year. And it's probably not the exact date that Jesus was born, but it's the day we set aside to recognize it. And it's the way you turn your heart to Him. That's what God honors. That's what God is pleased with, that we do that. And tell me there isn't something real about this when that holiday can last through time all the way up to today, and you can still feel that special blessing at that time of year, that special feeling it gives you. It's real. It's real. What we do is real. And it's just a blessing. I don't know how you guys like to celebrate Christmas. I like to do a lot of things. The main thing is just get together with the family. I mean, to me, that's Christmas to me. It's not about the presents and this and that, but I like to see people get things and then, get in awe of what they got, and like it's such a surprise to them. There's some joy in that. There's more joy to giving than receiving. Like when you see that, it just kind of lights you up on the inside, and I kind of enjoy that. I like that. But there's different things that we do to celebrate the season. Do you guys ever look at the Christmas lights? Do you guys like to do that? There's several ways of doing it. They light up my neighborhood. I've found out here now that the people in my neighborhood light up their houses, and I like it. I like it. We actually bought a Christmas tree and put out on the porch this year, and got those little light up gifts and sat in front of it, and set it on my porch this year as some Christmas lights. I like Christmas lights. I like to see them. It just kind of represents the season, it's a way of representing the season. It's a way of bringing some cheer, bringing some, lights. You see them and it's like, it catches your attention right off the bat, doesn't it? I mean, when you see them, you come down the street or something, all of a sudden, did you see? Look at that. Look at that. We sit there and point them out to each other. Oh, look at the tree on this one. Look at here. And we'll like look at light. It catches your attention and you just want to see it. There's something that just draws you to that you want to look at that. And there's something to be said about that. It's funny, I started thinking about lights and stuff. I found a show this year, and this show obviously has been on a couple years. It's called The Great Christmas Light Fight. Have you seen the show? Nobody told me about this show. I didn't know this was even on. This has probably been going on for years now, and I missed it. It went right by me. But I just discovered this show this year, and I flipped it on. And they have these families compete against each other with the biggest light show, the best, well, I don't want to say the biggest, the best light display. And they'll have 4 families compete against each other, and then this guy comes around, he judges them, and he'll go and pull up in front of the house at dark, and they don't have any of the Christmas lights on yet, and then they have to start them up, and they start that. They get the neighborhood all crowds out, and they all want to watch it, and this guy comes pulling up in the car, and they're all excited to see him and jumping up and down that they were selected to be on this show, and they're all happy and excited. And then they flip the Christmas lights on, and there is just, I never knew there was that many ways to display lights. I mean, they're all different. Some of them have those computer displays. Have you seen these computer displays where the lights timed with music and it's computer generated and they do it goes in a row and round and round and just all kind, and you're trying to keep up with the lights with the music and stuff, and you're just all that is crazy. How do you do it? Electrical engineers do this stuff. I noticed this guy's an electrical engineer, and that's his light display. I'm not an electrical engineer. I put a tree on my porch, and that was pretty good for me. I plugged it in, got the little clicker switch, and made it work. But these guys do this stuff. And it's amazing what they do and how they display those lights. I was watching this one, and there was one that he really went traditional. And he just made lights and just lit up the trees and wrapped them in garland and did the different things. And he started displaying things. He took his garage and he made them like windows. And he put plexiglass in front, and he made the whole inside of the garage a display of Christmas stuff, like little merry-go-rounds with Christmas people on them, and just bears and Santa Clauses and all these things. And it was like 2 big window displays. And it was just very neat to look. I'm like, I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought of that. It was really interesting to look at. This other one, he goes, and I don't believe how these people are so original with this stuff. The other guy goes, and he said, ours is a little bit different than everybody else's. And he flips on the lights, and it's real pretty, but it doesn't stand out like to anything that would top another one. I mean, it's pretty and everything. He goes, but ours is interactive. And you're like, what? You would go through his yard. He actually wanted you to walk through the yard. The people, the kids in the neighborhood all come through, and you'd push a button, and it would make something do something. And you'd go from one to another, and it was like interactive. You could go and do the things, and kids love this. I thought, I never would have thought. I never would have thought. And they're displaying these lights in all these different ways, and I thought, man, isn't that something? You know, and they would do this, and the guy would come around, and he would judge it, and he'd pick the best one. He'd go back, and he'd tell them, and they'd get all excited, and they'd put the light display back up and everything and get all excited, and they'd give him a trophy. You know what the trophy was? A giant Christmas light. It was like it's in the shape of one big bulb, and it's got lights inside it, and he hands them the trophy. At the bottom it says, you won this year's great Christmas light fight, and then hit the back of it, there's a switch, you flip it on, and it lights up. The trophy itself lights up like a big Christmas light, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. I didn't even know this show existed. But they're all about the lights. I'm like, that's really neat. I'm glad you celebrate. They would talk to some of these families, and there was emotional things like linked in with it. Like there was a father. He looked like a grandfather at that time, but his child took over from him and said, we do this together. This is just what we do together. I grew up doing this, and it's like, oh, they're connected with this, and they grew up together doing this. They just did this together, and was able to share the whole experience of it. And he's going to carry it on. He had little kids. He started them just starting to get into it, and they're going to pass this down. I'm like, man, I just never knew. I never knew this show was even on. I never knew this existed. But they're celebrating Christmas. They're celebrating Christmas. We know what Christmas points to. We know where it came from. But they're doing this, and it's like family things and just things that people put together in their mind and original things and all of that. I'm like, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. This year at church, we didn't have a Christmas play. Everybody's, you know what? We had a candlelight service. That's a little bit different. That was original. That was, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed myself being there that night. I enjoyed that. All the lights are down in the church. There's candles everywhere. And you can't see. That was brilliant, the way he did his little demonstration. I don't know if you guys got into that, but it was brilliant because really all the light you were seeing was right up here. They had the candles on the piano. They had the candles all over this stuff. And it's kind of dark back through that way. And they gave everybody a candle. It wasn't lit. I'm like, okay. And I held a candle the whole service. I'm holding this candle. I'm like, I'm getting waxy. I'm holding this candle. And then during the service, he goes and he lights one, and then you pass the light along throughout the building. And then when you got into the service, if you turned around after that, I could see everybody. I could see the light all out through the room. And I thought, well, that was really good. That's original. It's good. Why we got to be in a rut every time? You know what I mean? If you can celebrate Christmas and you're original about it, it comes from your heart, God likes that. I like that. It's good. That's a good thing. The way you can honor God. Light is a good way of doing it. God operates in light. Did you know that? All the time. All the time. The more I looked into this, the more I found out He sure does. Let's read here in John. In John, even in the beginning of John, I'll start John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's my dad's favorite verse. I love this. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him. Ain't God good? All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness,
and the darkness comprehended it not.
I just wanted to read those few verses to start with. You get in the New Testament and we're talking about light. The Old Testament talks about light. You get into the New Testament, you go a little further, go into 1 John. 1 John said, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. God is light. You start thinking about these things. You go back to Genesis. You know what? One of the first things, you go to Genesis 1:1, you start reading, and you're going to hit light. Right? Bam. You hit it right. It said, and God created the heavens and the earth, and it was dark and void. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And right off the bat, and there was light. And he saw that it was good. And that was the first day. You know what? He created light. You know what he did? He just manifested himself. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So if you see light, you're seeing a manifestation of God. Did you know that? You're seeing a manifestation of God. It's part of him. It's part of him. He's light, and in him is no darkness at all. Then I start thinking about Christmas lights. This is getting a whole lot better. I like this. I like celebrating this season like that. No wonder I like them so well. Sometimes you don't even know. You got to put two and two together. God has to turn the light on for you, doesn't he? So you can figure this stuff out. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. I love that. I love that. God has always dealt in light. You ever think about that? The very first day, he created, let there be light, and there was light. And people could see. He hadn't created the people yet, but he made it that we could see. When he talked, in the Bible, you go look, how did he talk to Moses? Oh, it was a burning bush, wasn't it? What is a fire? That is a physical manifestation of light, probably one of the most common ones. A physical manifestation of light is fire. He talked with Moses from the burning bush. Remember Elijah on Mount Carmel? He put out the sacrifices. Whoever answers by fire, whoever answers by the light, let him be God. He consumed that fire and licked up the water and the dust. How do you do that? It's light. He hit it with the light. The Apostle Paul, when he was Saul of Tarsus, how did he get converted? He's walking down the Damascus Road. What happened? God turned the light on. It was a light that outshined the noonday sun. He shines down on Paul and starts talking to him. He turned the light on him and spoke to Paul, spoke to his heart right there on the road, spoke to his heart right there on the road, and he got saved. He was saved in here. He wasn't saved out here. How do you know that? Because he was blind after that. He couldn't see. They had to lead him by the hand. He couldn't even see. God had mercy and God had a purpose. What he was trying to tell Paul, you're going by your sight when you're doing this. He was fighting against the church. He was fighting against the cause of Jesus Christ because he thought he was doing the right thing. I really think he did. The more I read about him, I think he was zealous and he thought he was doing the right thing. We got to put this stuff out. That we can't pollute God's church. This is the purest form of God's church right here. He didn't know.
Yeah, that's true.
God had to turn the light on for him. And when he did, he said, it's foolish for you to kick against the prick. It's foolish. You're hurting yourself. And he was blinded. He no longer could walk by his physical sight anymore. He had to be led by the hand. God took him to a man, and it said the scales fell from his eyes, and he could see. He could see. God had a purpose for him. Came with the light. When God led Israel out of Egypt and the bondage, and they were traveling through the wilderness, you know what he led them by? Well, it was a pillar of cloud by day, but it was a pillar of fire by night. When they couldn't see, it was a pillar of fire by night. They followed a pillar of fire. They followed God. They followed the light. He's a light unto my path and a lamp unto my feet. And he led them through the dark. They couldn't see. He was the biggest flashlight there ever was. They couldn't see, and he just led them right through. Just led them. They needed light. He gave it to them and led them right through that wilderness. He was light. He is light.
Yeah, amen.
He is light. You guys like the Christmas lights? I love the Christmas lights. I love seeing the Christmas lights. They've had them for a long time. The shepherds saw them one night when Jesus was born, and it said the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. God turned the light on that night and scared them to death. They're out in the middle of the dark. The only light they've got some twinkly stars going on up there, and they're out in the middle of the dark, and he flips the light on. And the glory of the Lord shone round about them, And they were sore afraid. Scared them to death. Would have scared me. I don't know about you guys. Would have scared me. And the angels were suddenly there. Said, fear not, I've got good news for you. Born in Bethlehem is the Savior. It's Christ the Lord. He gave them good news. He flipped the light on and gave them good news. The light has come into the dark world. The light. And they were able to go. Let's go see this great thing that's happened. Let's go. As soon as the angels left, let's go see this thing that's happened. And they were following that same light. Let's follow where that light was and to go see the light. There were wise men in the east. They had to make their way to where Jesus was. They felt compelled. I think they felt compelled in their heart that they needed to get to Jesus. We need to find this one that is born king. Born king. Not a king that was crowned and brought on by man. This, I think, would be a good candidate. Let's crown him king. And they chose. This was the king, and he was manifest. He was born king. Let us go see this king. How'd they get there? Followed the light. God sent a star, and they was able to follow that star, the light in the sky. It was a star like no other star. You believe in like supernatural phenomena? You think that was some kind of crazy comet? I think it was a star, just like the Bible said it was a star. And I think there was just something different about it. It was special. It was special. There was something different. Did it shine brighter? Maybe. Was it bigger? Maybe. Was it a different color? Maybe. Guys, I wasn't there. All I know is God turned the light on, they followed it, and they got where they were going. God directed them right where they needed to be by the light. God is light, in him is no darkness at all. None at all. These Christmas lights, they've been around for a long time. I love Christmas lights. I love them more now than I did before because I know a little bit more about them. Light. Light. Isn't that great? Everybody just love the light. I love it. Don't you just love it? That's because we're saved. Because let me read you a little further in John. Let's go to chapter 3. It's just a page or two over. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be manifest, that they are wrought in God. You would think that everybody loves the light, don't you? I mean, it makes good sense to me. I mean, you find out all these things, and it lights me up on the inside, and you think everybody loves the light. I love the lights. I love the Christmas lights. I love light. God is light, and in him is no darkness. I love light. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The world was. It goes to conclude that the world was condemned already. He didn't come to condemn the world. The world was condemned already. And it said, this is the condemnation. This is what they're condemned of. That light is coming to the world, and they hated the light and loved the dark. And loved the dark. Why? He gives you the reason. Because their deeds were evil. And that they would be brought into the light, they'd be reproved, they'd be found out. So they stay away from the light. But those that love God, those that have God, can pull right up against the light. And they see that their deeds are of God. That's the difference. That's the difference. Let's break this down into common talk. You like getting together with family at Christmas. We've already talked about this. You like getting together with family at Christmas. You know what happens when you get together with family at Christmas and you sit down and you enjoy the season? You start telling stories about the family. Do you remember when, you guys have never done this, have you? You remember when, do you remember when, and you start telling stories on people. You start telling little stories about things on people. Why are the stories always kind of pointed at times? It's never the stories of like, and we had a wonderful time and it was great. It's always, do you remember when the hit knucklehead did this? And you're all laughing and cracking up and everything. Do you know what the knucklehead that did it feels like? I wish you hadn't brought that up. Do we really need to go here again? Every Christmas you're doing this. You know what I mean? That's the kind of, you've done this, you know you have. And you bring up those stories and you got to tell, do you remember when they fell in that pool? Do you remember when they did this? And you bring up these stories and everybody's all just like, hi, it's so hilarious. And the one that's the story is told on doesn't feel like it's all that funny. It just doesn't seem all that funny. I don't know why they're laughing that hard. It's not all that funny. That's because their situation was brought right out into the light, wasn't it? It was brought right out for everybody to see, and they all saw it and knew exactly what happened in the situation. It's all brought out. It's the same principle we're talking about here. I would just feel a whole lot better if my sin wasn't brought out into the light in front of everybody else. All my shortcomings, my failings, and my mistakes. I just assume you didn't know all those. I just assume that, I'd go along pretty well. Let's just keep those back there and let's not talk about that. Let's just keep that way. You don't want that brought out in the light because you don't want that brought up. I don't. That's not the good part of me. I don't like that. Let's don't bring that up. Let's don't bring that out into the light. Let's don't do that. And we feel that way. It's condemnation. It's a feeling on us. Can I tell you something? God is light and in him is no darkness at all. That way, your sin can't hide from him because it's all out in the light to him. He sees it all. Knowing that tells me I can't hide it. I might be able to hide it from you, but I can't hide it from him. I can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. I can't hide it from him. People go through life and they run from God and they try and hide things from God and they try and push it back and hide it and just squelch it down and just try and do away with it. Let's just keep that in the dark recesses of our mind. You can't keep it in the dark with God. God sees all and God knows all. He's light and in him is no darkness. You can't keep it in the shadows. Knowing that, it compels me that I'd like to if there was a solution to that, I'd like to have that. Guess what? There is. The light came to the world. He didn't come to condemn you. Remember? He didn't come to condemn us. He came to save us. You read the whole word. He didn't come to condemn us. We were already condemned. He came to save us. We were already in that condition. He came to do something about it. You know what the thing about us is? He went through all the pain, the anguish, and the suffering to give us the glory, the joy, and the peace. Mm-hmm. He did all that. The only pain you got is bringing it up to him. That's what it is. I get ashamed too. I'm a person. I'm a human. I get ashamed too. I don't want to bring that stuff up. I don't like to bring that up. But you know what? You can bring it to one that knows and cares and is faithful and just to forgive you of your sins. And when he forgives them, they're forgiven. They're put away with. They're forgiven. So that means if they're forgiven and he's covered them, he's wiped you clean, then you can come up near God and the light shines on you and you don't see any darkness on it. He sees the light on it. And other people are able to see the light on it. Don't we want to be a light I want to be a light. This little light of mine, I want to be a light. A city sitting on the hill, it cannot be hid. We are the light of the world. That's what we're supposed to be, isn't it? We're the light of the world. Jesus said when he was in the world that he is the light of the world, that no man should have to walk in darkness. He's the light of the world. But when he left, he said, ye are the light of the world. The city set on a hill that could not be hid. No man lights a light and puts it under a basket, puts it under a bushel. No man lights the light and hides it. Matter of fact, darkness could not comprehend it. We read that scripture just a minute ago. Do you know what that means? Darkness could not overtake it. You can't outdark light. You can't outdark light. You can turn... You guys do the cave tours? This is a real easy illustration. You guys do the cave tours, and you're down in a cave, and you're underground and everything. It's kind of creepy. Some people don't like to do that. It's kind of claustrophobic, crazy. But you get underground, and you go, and I've done it. I want to see what's down there. I want to look. It's safe. Everybody else is doing it. And your mom says, if everyone jumped off a bridge, would you? You know what I mean. But, you figure, I can do this. I can do this. And you go down in the cave tour, and you're down there, and it is kind of creepy. I mean, hey, you're underground. I would hate to be trapped there. I don't want to be in a place where I don't want to be. But you do the cave tour, and you get down there. And then they always got to do this to you. They get you right out in the middle of the cave, and you're out in and they stop everybody, and he's talking to you. He's playing, stalactites were made, and stalagmites are made. And they go through the whole little tour experience and everything. See the moisture in the cave. There's underwater. There's water in the soil and the ground. Sometimes it leaks through the walls and caves, and you can see the drippings. And then that causes, let me show you something. And they turn all the lights out. That's black like you ain't never seen black. That's dark like you ain't never seen dark. Because it's not like, let's pull the curtains and there's still some light cracking through there. You know what I mean? It's not like that. There's no light. There's no light. I mean, it's like you got to do things like you're down there and you're doing this number. You can't see. I'm doing that. I'm glad they had the lights off because I was doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't see anything at all. I can't see that. I'm like, I can't. It's like right there and I can't see it. Can't see anything at all. And then the guy lights a lighter. And it's just, he don't have it on jet high. It's like right this big. Just that big. He lights that lighter. And we're in a big old cavern. And you look around and it's like, wow. You could see in that place. You could see in that little bit lit the whole thing up. But man, it's dark. You can't outdark the light. Well, let's just make it a little darker. We'll make that thing fade. Let's just make it. You can't get it any darker. It's dark. But he let that little bit of a lighter just flame that tall. And you could see. You could look around. Like I looked at the person next. I could see. I could see people. I could see them. Because of the light. That's what light does with dark. Can you imagine when Jesus came into the world, what light did with dark? He made a difference. He made a difference. Can I tell you something else? It's still his light. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Kenny's not light, and in him is no darkness. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. All I can do is reflect. That's what I want to do. I just want to reflect. It's his light. Can you reflect his light? Let's ask Moses. Let's ask Moses that question. He went up and he's talking to God face to face as with a friend, because he was his friend. And he talks to him, and they're talking face to face, and he's spending all that time with God. And when he left, his face shone because of the glory of God. He lit up, literally lit up with the glory of God. That the people saw it and it scared them. That's how much light was hitting him. It stuck to him. And he shined to the people, that so much so that it scared them. Veil your face. He had to put a veil on to talk to the people. I don't think we've ever had that problem as Christian people shining God's light. I'm going to come into church tomorrow, but I'm going to be wearing a veil. Just don't want to scare y'all. Yeah, let's work for that. Let's work to that end. Let's go to that end. But we want to shine God's light. You can still do that. He manifests this in a physical form. I understand that. He manifests that in a physical form. But spiritually, on the inside, you can shine the same exact light. Because God's light, it never changes. You can shine that exact same light because it's him, it's not you. And you can make a difference with people just by how you look. People know when there's something different about you. I found out in my life, I don't have to go and explain myself to everybody. It just comes out. It just comes out. They start finding out, and it just comes out. I still have people at work that come to me and she goes, I'm glad you're sitting here because I was about to say something. They'll say that to me. And I appreciate that they don't bomb that on me. I appreciate that. But it also lets me know there's something about you that's different. And they know that. These people around it, they know that. It's the same with you. I'm nobody special. I'm nobody special. It's the same with you. If you shine God's light, if you let God shine the light on you, there's something different about you. People will notice. People can tell. You just have to be around them a little bit, and it just becomes obvious to them. They can tell.
You know, I think that's why all these little groups are fighting the manger scene, because they know there's a difference there. Mm-hmm. Nobody's fighting against the menorah. Nobody's fighting against the KKK display. I can walk by all this thing. I can walk by Buddha. All those idols they set up, and they don't have any effect on me. I can look at them. They don't bother me. But you walk by the manger scene, it's going to have an effect on you.
Absolutely.
And if there's nothing to it, then leave it alone. But there's something to it, and they can't leave it alone. Yeah. You know, they've been trying to do it for centuries to put the light out, and they're not doing a very good job of it.
That's right.
I mean, you can look in the countries where we're at war, Afghanistan. It looks like the light's pretty dim over there, but I think there's still some Christians there. There's still some Christians in Iraq. They're trying to put those lights out in Syria. All those are all Muslim-based countries, but they can't quite put the light totally out. There's still a man of God preaching in a cottage meeting somewhere, and they can't put the light out.
That's right.
Don't allow it to go out.
That's right.
God's not going to allow it to go out. He's the one that's going to put the light out it's put out.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's His light. It's His light. It's Him. In Him is no darkness. What do you think it must have been like when one of those apostles, one of the disciples that followed Him, and they're up there, and He goes to the Mount, and it turns out to be the day of the Mount of Transfiguration, and He decided He'd just turn the light on. It said that his raiment, his whole self, shone brighter than any fuller soap could make. Any soap you could, whiter than white, lighter than light, He becomes. And people join Him, and they're in conversation. And these guys are down on the ground, scared to death, because no man's seen God and live. So I bet there was a whole bunch of this going on, but they kind of saw what was happening. How much curiosity do you think had to be there along with the fear? Because would you look? Would you not look? They knew what was going on. They had to see something because they knew what was going on, and they described it. They knew what was going on. When God manifested Himself in light that day, I think He did it for a purpose. I don't think it was just haphazard. Hey, watch this. I don't think He had a purpose. You know what? How much do you think they leaned on that as they went through their Christian walk? They had more persecution than we'll ever see. More trials, more turmoil than we'll ever see. Yet they knew God is light and in Him's no darkness at all. I saw it myself. They needed it, and He gave it to them. That's why He did it. They needed it, and He gave it to them. He gave them the light. Sometimes we just need it, and God gives us a little bit of light. Mm-hmm. He just shines a little bit of light for us. Just a little bit of light. He cracks the door of glory and gives us a little bit of light because we need it.
I've always liked that story of Gideon where he took it to the army of 103 of them and destroy the whole Philistine army. And all they do is crack his pictures. And as you're reading that story, you say, what are they doing?
Absolutely.
All they did is that Philistine army seen all that light. And they killed each other getting out of the way.
That's exactly right.
I mean, that's what light does to people.
Yeah. Light makes a difference. Light makes a difference. I hope you guys heard that. He was talking about Gideon when they went to the battle. All they did was crack the earthen vessel and let the light out. Sometimes you just need to crack the earthen vessel and let the light out. Let the light out. That wins a lot of battles. That wins them all. It's the light. It's His light. It's His light. It makes such a difference. It's a dark, dark world out there. It's a dark place. You see these things, and it all just seems like darkness. But remember this: Darkness comprehended it not. You can't outdark light. You can't out. Don't get discouraged. Don't get down. You can't outdark light. Light wins. Light wins. How do you know? I read the end of the book. Light wins. Light wins. They tried to take the light and totally crush it out. You ever take a candle? I don't like to do that. I see people do that. I just blow it out. They tried to crush out the light. They tried to get it so dark. Where's the darkest place? We'd already described this. Darkest place is underground where you can't even get any crack. They put it under the ground and rolled a rock over the top of it. Now, and tried to put the light out. Didn't work, did it? Didn't work, did it? Because after 3 days, he arose. Did they have to roll back the door, the rock off the door to let him out? He was already out. He didn't even know you. They rolled out the door to see in. They rolled the rock off to see in. They let the light in so they could see what was going on, and all they found is his grave clothes laying there, and him gone. You heard this Shroud of Turin thing that they got going on? We think we found the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. I don't know if they did or they didn't. You know what? Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Honestly, seriously, it's neither here nor there to me. But the thing that they said about this that was very interesting to me is that they got that image that was on there, and they said it was almost like burnt into this cloth, as if something very brightly shined on there and imprinted that image right in that cloth, like intense light of some kind. Maybe they did get something, I don't know, but it makes sense to me. Whether they did, whether they didn't, I know he got up. How do you know? He's living right in here. If he didn't get up, he'd still be laying in there. I know he got up. You don't have to give me a cloth to figure it out, but if that helps you, shine on. Shine on, cloth, shine on. God can put his light anywhere he pleases to put his light. If that led some scientist to discover Jesus Christ, hallelujah. I'm glad. I'm glad. Because you can't outdark light. I enjoyed it for Christmas. You know what? I think I'm just going to enjoy it every day. What do you guys think? To me, in our house, and I have learned over the years here, Christmas isn't one day. We've enjoyed Christmas. It's been going on an entire month at my house. We've really enjoyed Christmas. And I like that. But that same light doesn't have to stop 1 month a year, 1 day a year. You don't have to contain it. Don't put it under a bushel. Don't cover it up. Just let the light shine. You let the light shine by having him shine in your heart through prayer, through his word. His word, it's a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Sometimes I don't know where I'm going. I told you I'm directionally challenged person. But when his light, his word is a light unto my path and a lamp unto my feet, and he directs my way, I can follow that pillar of fire in the dark. I can follow that because he is the light. It's his. Let's enjoy it. Thanks for your attention.
Very good.